Now what we have to do now is put this truck on the top of the flagpole, and we want the truck to go so that the truck part is in line down toward the bottom of the flagpole where the cleat is, because the cleat's where you secure off the rope. So you need, this is not a, you know, a movable truck, so we want the truck to be in line with the cleat so the rope will run, you know, straight down the side of the pole and be able to attach to the cleat without interference. There's 3 set screws in this, and really all you do is just put it on here and tighten those set screws evenly. I may put a little Loctite on these threads. You probably don't have to, but I just may do it just for kicks. Okay, I'm just going to put just a smidge of Loctite on these little set screws. You know, the folks that sold me the pole, they don't necessarily recommend that, but I don't know, I'm just thinking about all the vibration that'll be encountered at the top of this hole. So I don't know, probably don't have to, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything. So I've got, like I said, I've got the truck lined up to where the cleat will attach, so the rope will be in line with the cleat. And I'm just going to snug down these set screws even, a little pressure on each, and I'll go around it 2 or 3 times. Okay, I'm not really torquing the daylights out of it. I'm just getting it good and snug and secure, and that looks good. Okay, now it's time to put this cool looking ball on the top, and it just threads in right here to the top of that truck. And there's a lock washer. Get the lock washer on. I'm going to thread that all the way in until it bottoms out. Then I'm going to tighten it right here with this little nut right there. Here again, probably don't have to do it, and it probably don't matter. But I'm going to put just a smidge of Loctite on these threads. Well, that was a little more than a smidge. I'm not doing good with my smidge computations today. But I'm just going to put a little Loctite on here because I don't know, I've never had a flagpole, but I'm just betting there's all kinds of vibration from this thing rattling around in the wind. And I don't think putting a little Loctite on there is going to hurt anything. I'm just going to thread this in till it bottoms out, and I'll torque that nut down till it compresses that lock washer. That looks good. Okay, so I'm going to be flying 2 flags on this pole, so I need to set it up to fly 2 flags. And they gave me an extra set of clips, and you have this little rubber sleeve. I guess that keeps it from clanging and banging so much. And then you have the clips that the flag actually attaches to. And all you do is, you know, you got to get it measured out, and I may end up having to adjust it, so I've never done this before. But I've got it measured out for my second flag, and I'm going to just knot it up like that. Not really knot it up, but fold it over and run it through that little hole right there. Okay. And once it's through that hole, I'm going to take the clip, see, I'm going to go up through that clip, and then take it over the top of the clip like that, and there it is. And then you can just slide this little piece up over it. And that's where you attach the flag. Okay, now we got to go ahead and put this cleat on here. They've already drilled and tapped 2 holes that line up perfectly with the cleat. And I'm just going to lay it in place and start them in. Be real careful not to get them going slaunch ways and tear them threads out. I'll take my screwdriver here and snug them up a little bit. Just kind of put even snugness on it. And I'll snug the bottom part a little bit hard, and then I'll snug the top. I need to get a screwdriver with a little wider head before I go to cranking them down, so I'll do that in a minute. Now the last thing we need to make sure we don't forget is to put this flash collar on, because if you're using one of these, you don't want to stand that pole up and then think, oh man, I forgot to put the flash collar on. So I've just slipped it over the bottom of the pole, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here very carefully and just kind of tie this thing off real gently so that it won't be in our way and won't be flopping around when we stand the pole up. Okay, before we stand this pole up, just a couple of points of detail. One of the things that I wasn't sure about is, whether or not I should line that hole with gravel or crush and run or something like that. So they've told me that they don't really recommend doing that. I know other places that I've seen online recommend doing that, but Admiral Flag Poles told me not to do it. Go ahead and let the pole touch the ground. That way, there's a direct ground to the ground, and it'd be fine. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, the next thing that I wasn't really sure about is a lot of the places that I've seen online, they have a sleeve for their pole that's much bigger in diameter than the pole itself, and they fill in the space with sand. The sleeve that I got from Admiral Flag Poles is much smaller. In fact, the gap between the pole and the sleeve is probably only 1/8 of an inch, maybe less than that. And they don't recommend putting sand in there. So what they do is a little different, a little unique. They actually thread the top of that sleeve, and they supply a couple of bolts. Now, the purpose of those bolts is not to level the pole or plumb the pole, because we hopefully have already done that when we poured the concrete. The purpose of those bolts is just to take up that 1/8 inch or 1/16 inch of a gap. And don't want to torque them, because that's just plastic PVC. It'll pull in threads out. I'm just going to snug it up. So. Okay, so now I've got the pole in, and I'm just going to hand tighten these screws. I mean, their purpose is not to plumb the pole or anything. It's just to take up the little bit of space. So I'm just hand tightening them. That's all I'm going to do with it. Then I'm going to take some silicone caulk right here, and I'm just going to go around and seal this opening to keep the water out of that sleeve. I'll just gob it in there pretty good. And probably over time I'll need to come out from time to time and check and make sure I still have a good seal. Okay, so I've laid the flash collar in place, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to very, very carefully put an ultra thin bead of silicone around this opening, and I'm just going to go all the way around with it, and I'm probably just going to leave the bottom alone. That silicone will help keep the water out, and it'll help keep that sleeve in place, or this collar in place. So I'm just going to go all the way around with it. Well, we got that pole set in place. I had a couple of helpers. That pole's not that heavy. I think 2 people could probably, do it pretty safely. It wasn't hard to do. Got it set in place, ran a couple of flags up the pole, and it looks awesome. I love it. And one thing that's pretty neat is I caught a day today when the wind's blowing and you can see those flags flying, and it just looks awesome. I love this flagpole. That's a 25-foot pole. I could have probably gotten away with a 30-foot, but I'm not going to let that thought enter my mind, because if I let that thought go in my mind, it'll drive me crazy the rest of my life. The 25-foot pole looks good. It looks good in front of this house. It crests the top of the house. And look, I hit dead center on the house. I mean, that looks really good. It crests the top of the house. I've got 2 flags flying. I've got a 4x6 on top and a 3x5 on bottom. They don't look crowded. They're up off the ground plenty. 25-foot pole is fine, and it looks really good in front of this house, and that's the centerpiece of that landscaping out front. So overall, great project. It wasn't particularly hard, but there's a lot of work involved in this, but it is the kind of thing that you can do yourself and end up with a great result. Buying a flagpole is a big investment. You can buy one anywhere online, but I just recommend you give these folks at Admiral Flag Pole a call. Like I said, I'm not getting paid to endorse them. I'm just sharing with you a good experience that I had with this company. It's one of those companies that's been around since the 60s. You know, the dad started the company and the kids are involved now, and they just kind of have flagpoles in their blood, and I like dealing with people like that. I didn't feel like they were just interested in selling me a flagpole. I didn't feel like they were just interested in seeing to it that I got the flagpole stuck in the ground. I felt like they were interested to see to it that the flagpole looked awesome when I was done, and it does. And you know, that attitude and that philosophy, that means a lot to me, and I appreciate that. So if you decide to buy a flagpole, at least give them a call. I'll put their information in the video description. So the flagpole's up. The 4th is next week, so I'll have my flagpole and be able to fly my flag, and it just looks great. I'm tickled to death with it. Hope you enjoyed this video and maybe got something out of it and learned something. As always, if you enjoyed the video, remember to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and leave me some comments. Thanks for watching.